Okay, everybody, we're recording and we will be going live in less than 1 minute.
Are you spending the day in your tent today, Cole? What's up with that background?
I'm using a device that doesn't have that background saved already.
Okay. So where are you at? In front of your green screen where you record all your cool stuff?
No, Glen Rose, Riverbend.
Well, thank you
Kids
for joining.
Camp. My pleasure, man.
Okay, everybody, starting the broadcast. And we are broadcasting now.
It is 5 o'clock. If you will allow me to read the script since we're back on Zoom meetings. Welcome to the Public Safety Committee meeting of July 6, 2020, in accordance with the Texas Governor's March 13, 2020 disastrous declaration and subsequent suspension of certain Texas Open Meeting Acts provisions. Meeting of the committee is hereby called to order via video conference call at Zoom. The meeting follows a printed agenda that is available online and as posted according to Open Meetings Act. So we will have a call to order. Councilman Humphreys, if you'll say here.
Here.
Councilman Lopez.
Mr. Chairman, would
sir.
you please give the time for us?
It is 5 o'clock.
Thank you.
And Councilman Lopez.
Here.
Were you here? Let the record reflect that all members are present. The first item is number 1, which are the minutes. If any council members have any questions, please let me know. Y'all good
No
with
questions.
the minutes? Cool. Then I'll take a motion. Baron, are there any speakers?
No, sir.
Okay. I will now accept a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Councilman Humphreys moved. I have a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Lopez. So let the minutes stand as written. Well, let's vote on it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
This is tougher than it looks. The mayor makes it look easy. The next item is number 3, Republic rate service increase.
Mr. Chairman, I think item number 2 is going to be the discussion of the eviction ordinance.
My apologies, sir.
It's okay.
Let me see where I am on my script. The first item, the next item, I'm sorry. The next item is number 2, eviction ordinance discussion. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. As you all may recall, the ability to evict has expired under the CARES Act provisions. So now landlords have the ability to evict for non-payment of rent. The city of Dallas has decided to pass an ordinance basically in their city limits to not allow any landlords to evict currently because of COVID-19. Several other cities have looked at this, including us. We've researched some of our suburbs as well as some of the other larger cities like San Antonio. It's at first blush, it's certainly a viable option. After doing the researching and really thoroughly looking into this, my recommendation from a staff level is going to not to be pursued to an eviction ordinance. And I'll certainly explain to you why and then answer any questions. And quite frankly, there's several reasons, but I'll tell you the biggest reason. We now have a rental assistance program in place. And Councilmember Lopez, when you and I first started talking about the potential of having an eviction ordinance to preclude evictions in this current environment, we didn't have our rental assistance program in place. But I think now that we do, I think we have to consider the adverse impact that not allowing evictions for another extended period could have on our property owners and our landlords. And certainly if they're not bringing in rent, there's going to be probably an equal adverse impact, if not greater, to them having to lay off employees and cut their business operations. Again, I think it would have probably been maybe the right thing to do had we not been able to stand up a rental assistance program. I think secondly, there's some potential legal issues with an ordinance. I know that there's been an opinion requested of the Attorney General, and there's been some cities that have certainly thought that maybe the legality to pass such an ordinance does not exist. And then I think finally, I've heard loud and clear for you all from our realtors associations, our landlord associations, our property management associations. I've received a voluminous amount of emails and documents and letters for you all opposing such an ordinance for really the very reasons that I just stated. So again, I go back primarily from a staff perspective that we feel like by not enacting an ordinance, it's still going to probably be towards the end of the year before any of those cases are going to be heard anyway. So I think just organically, a lot of these tenants are going to get several more months. I think that we now have a great program through the city and Grand Prairie United Charities, where if somebody is hurting for rental assistance, hey, we've got the means to help them. And certainly I hope they reach out to us. And then again, I think that you could really consider the adverse impact to the property owner and the landlords, because when they're not receiving their revenue stream, jobs depend on that as well. So with that said, again, I think it was Councilmember Lopez, I want to thank you for bringing this to my attention. It was really interesting to kind of research all the different aspects, but because of what I've just stated, staff would recommend, at this time not to pursue one, but we're certainly open to your direction. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Cole, do you or John have any comments?
I'm good.
No, I'm good. I know that like we said, it's going to take several months before someone actually could get evicted, just because the number of cases being heard at the JP courts and other entities. I mean, it's going to take a long process, and it does benefit the property owners too, because I mean, they're also on the hook to make payments and pay their tax notes and all that. So it's something we continue to look at for sure as a city, and just as long as we offering that assistance and just being proactive, reaching out to different associations, making sure they're aware of case by case situations that might come across. I think we're in a good spot.
Well, I definitely think that our heart is in the right places, and we have both tenants and landlords that we represent and need to look out for. And as you say, Steve, with our rental assistance program, I think that's us putting our checkbook where our heart is as well. And then just personally as a non-attorney, Mark, I am not an attorney, nor am I the attorney for this organization. I don't know how in the world you could ever pass a city ordinance to stop that. So I think, personally, I feel like it's a show. Do we need to take action on that, Steve?
No, sir. It was a discussion item only. You all have affirmed our position. Mr. Chairman, we'll continue to watch the issue closely. If there's any significant developments, again, we'll bring it back to you as a discussion item only. And that's what we're doing today. I wanted to make sure that you all didn't have a differing opinion to direct me otherwise.
Good. Thank you, sir. All right. With that being said, we will move on to item number 3, the Republic Rate Services increase. Who has that?
That would be Patricia Redfern. Patricia?
Hi,
Okay,
Patricia.
there we go. Hello. All right. Baron, can you bring a slide up for me?
Yes. There we go.
Okay, hang on just a second. You guys went all the way away. Okay, there you are. Goodness sake. Okay, can you see my pointer?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Thank you. All right, Republic Waste Services has come in this year with a 3% rate increase request across the board, which is to say residential, commercial, and industrial, the roll-off book of business would be affected. We put together a slide showing you a couple of different options. Currently, our residential rate is $16.35 per household per month. This second bar actually should read 1% increase. If we took the current rate and added 1%, that would be $16.42. Of course, 1.5% would be 11 cents on top of the $16.35. A 2% increase would be $16.50, and a 3% increase would take it 22 cents up to $16.57. Currently, we're below the average of $20.03 per household per month of our comparison cities, which are Frisco, McKinney, Arlington, Garland, Carrollton, Richardson, Mesquite, Denton. Of course, Denton has two different iterations, and Irving. It's important to point out that Denton had to roll their rate back by $4 per household per month from last year. So these rates are much lower than what Denton's used to be, but the average is now $20.03 per household per month. On the residential side, it would be a pass-through, meaning that Republic Waste Services does the billing for commercial service. So we don't have the data as far as how many of those customers are paying for a 2 cubic yard container one time per week versus how many of those customers may be paying for an 8 cubic yard container 6 times per week. However, the level of impact to each of these businesses would be based upon the size of their container and the frequency of collection. On the residential side, though, for the 22 cents per household per month, given the number of households that we have, would net them about $125,000 per year. Steve Dye is going to be making the staff recommendation. However, I would like to point out that, particularly given the last agenda item, solid waste services can absorb a portion of that rate, if not the whole rate.
Baron, can you go to the second slide, please? Okay. Patricia, did you have anything else?
Okay, this slide, thank you. This slide shows Grand Prairie's current rate. This is for the cubic yard container collected 1 time per week, then 2 times per week, 3 times per week, 4 times per week, etc. Then you see the 4 cubic yard 1 through 6 times, and then you see the 8 cubic yard container 1 through 6 times. There was really too much variation on the roll-off. We didn't include that in this slide. This is Grand Prairie current. This is Grand Prairie proposed. This is Arlington current. This is Arlington proposed, or with the brand new effective rate. This is Mansfield. Now, Mansfield has an automatic CPI. That is something that neither Grand Prairie nor Arlington have. Then there's Cedar Hill, North Richland Hills, Euless, effective April 1, 2020. Euless, effective April 1, 2021. Grapevine, Dalworthington Gardens. This is the average for all of the cities. The cells that you see in gold are actually the highest occurrence of that rate. When you see that in Grand Prairie, we have the highest rate for 8 cubic yard once per week, 2 cubic yards 6 times per week, and 2 cubic yards 1 time per week.
Okay.
But you see the average here, and you can see where our proposed rate is for each item. For instance, on the 2 cubic yard 1 time per week, $83.06 versus $72.36. Okay, Chief?
Yeah, so guys, I want to stay on this slide for a minute because we're talking about 2 different things here. We're talking about the commercial rates and the residential rates. I want to stay on this slide and maybe put this one to bed. My recommendation, after talking to Patricia, and she concurs, our recommendation would be on the commercial side to not give them any increase. When we look at these numbers, we're already, and we had Becky Brooks from finance come in and look at these numbers as well with us. we're already either just at or above the midpoint in a lot of these. And on some of these, particularly if we went to the proposed, we would be in 3 categories on the high end. I don't see a need for an increase in in commercial, excuse me. So I'm going to go back to that first slide in a minute, but here on the commercial side, we do not recommend any rate increase. And then Baron, if you go back to the first slide, please. So guys, now we're transitioning back to the residential rates. When we look at the residential rates and we look at this, I think a 3% on the residential side is a reasonable request. That's 22 cents would be on the monthly rate, which still puts us not just in the mid, but pretty in pretty good shape in the mid. So we would go from 16.35 to 16.57. Now I want to tell you all also I'm going to go back 3 years. 3 years ago, they did not request a rate increase. 2 years ago, they requested an increase of 7.25 on commercial, 3.5 on industrial, and 3.67 on residential. You all approved of that request. And then last year, Republic requested 3.8% on commercial and 5.5% on residential, which you all also approved. So the last 2 years, those are the increases. Here's what this 22 cents would be for the residential customer. It equates to about $125,000 a year. So we've got, if you all wanted to go with staff's recommendation and consider no increase on the commercial side and consider the 3% increase on the residential side, if you were amenable to that, then we've actually got 3 options within that option. And that would be that the city of Grand Prairie totally encumbers the $125,000 annual increase to Republic, which would mean the citizens would not see any increase in their bill. We would have to take that $125,000 out of the solid waste budget. The second option would be to give the complete increase passed through the citizens. So they would encumber the entire 22 cent amount at their expense. And then a third option, which I think that I may like the most, but I'll be interested to see what you all think, is maybe we split it. Because of COVID-19, maybe we take on as a city half of that cost and only pass off half the cost to our citizens for the 3% residential increase if you all so choose to go that direction. I can tell you we've also got Becky Brooks on this Zoom call in the event that you all wanted to take a deeper dive into the details. But that's an overview for you all to consider and give us your feedback on what direction you'd like to go.
Well, thank y'all. So I have 2 questions right off the bat. It seems like about 6 months ago, we talked about when the Republic bid comes up that we would be looking at curbside containers. Did we do that or not?
So yes, so let me tell you where we're at on that. So we actually asked for that at the first of the year because we're going to send out a citizen survey. If you all remember, we wanted the bid so we could include the price increase, potential price increase on our citizen survey. It was very important to Patricia that the citizens, when they entered their opinion, they knew that there was going to be potentially an additional cost. Well, that did not get to us before COVID hit, and then COVID hit, and we still don't have it. I've expressed my displeasure with Republic, COVID-19 or not, that we haven't gotten that bid. So we should be getting that bid no later than next month. And then we'll send out the survey. And then once we have the survey, we'll be able to arm you all as our elected officials on what the citizens are telling us that they want. So that's a different topic, in addition to the rate increase request, Councilmember Copeland, but something that is definitely top of mind for us. I've been really happy with Republic's service level. I've been really disappointed with the delay in getting that bid to us, but I think Vince understands that needs to get to us in the next 3 weeks.
Do we put this out for bid? with Republic's competitors?
So I'm going to let Patricia talk to the specifics of the contract. I think we're about 7 years into a 10-year contract. If
Okay.
we were to go to carts, then we wouldn't work off the same contract. So if we were to go to carts, which would require different routes, staffing levels, and equipment, then we would renew the contract at that time and go work under a different contract because the services included would be much different.
So we're not renewing the contract. They're just asking for a rate increase mid-contract.
Yes, sir.
And so if we were to tell them we accept the increase on the residential, but we reject it on commercial, what actions do they have against us? Do they just have to tuck tail and run, or what?
Yeah, so let me just clarify a little bit. They're actually not asking for an increase mid-contract. Under their contract, they get to come to us every year and ask for a rate increase to make sure that their cost of, their margins stay where they need them to be. So this is the exercising of their annual option to request us for a rate increase. If we were to go 2 years without granting them a rate increase, then they could renegotiate the contract or walk away. Patricia, anything I missed on that?
Not at all. On or before March 1st, they have the option to come in and request every year. That's because we don't have the CPI.
I can't hear.
Patricia, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. On or before March 1st, every year, they have the opportunity to come in and make a rate increase request. And they have that because we don't have the automatic rate increase request. They don't have an automatic CPI in there. So they turn that into us, and then we have an amount of time to come back to them and say whether we are approving that or not, or whether we recommend that or not to council. So this is, but he's absolutely right. If we reject it 2 years in a row, then they have 18 months to tell us go get something else.
So to Patricia's point, if we had a CPI in our contract, they would get an automatic increase every year. We didn't want that in our contract.
Without any justification.
Yeah, we wanted to A, have justification, B, we wanted you all to have a say in the increase, yes or no. And I can tell you they've been a good partner. We're happy with their service. We have no complaints. Their staff and Patricia's staff work really well together. I will commend Patricia and her staff because a lot of times when we do get complaints, which aren't very often, they're after hours, but our solid waste team does a good job of solving those problems once Republic has gone home for the day.
Well, so I say that we definitely reject, or tell me if this timeline's right. We reject the commercial increase simply because we can, because that means next year they kind of get an automatic one, or if we reject it, then they have, but next year it'll be 8 years into a 10-year contract. And by the time they take action over 18 months, the contract is up anyway.
No, sir, it's actually flipped. Council member Copeland, I think actually we're only about 3 years into the 10-year contract.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying 7. All right.
Yeah, we have
So
7
then
years.
if we reject the commercial increase, then next year they could ask for an even bigger increase, and we kind of have to take it because that would be 2 years in a row of rejecting their increase.
Not really so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. We're not in accepting the residential part of this. We're not.
Patricia, back up from your computer.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
That's
That's
perfect.
much
Yes,
better.
Okay, good. Okay. In accepting the residential part of this, we're not rejecting them entirely. So they're not being told this year is a 0% increase for you. I don't think it starts the shot clock for this year plus this year equals we're walking away or renegotiating. What we have talked to them about is looking at the distribution of the fees on the commercial side and on the residential side and seeing how best to balance that for next year's request, which is inevitable.
Okay.
And Council,
John, go ahead.
we understand, look, their cost of doing business goes up.
Right.
And we understand. So what we look at, and again, I advocate that they're really good partners. We're very happy with Republic. So we really look at it from, what do they need to do to continue to make an appropriate profit? And how do we shield our customers? How do we balance for them paying the right amount without overpaying? And again, just, the commercial numbers this year looked fine to us as staff, but we do see the legitimacy in the residential increase request.
Okay. John, Cole, do y'all have any questions? If you're talking, you're on mute, so I'm going to assume that you don't.
I'm good.
Are you?
Oh,
Go ahead,
can you
bud.
hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. So if we do 1.5, where we take the cost for 1/2 versus doing 3, can you just tell us what would a resident pay at 1.5 rate and what would they pay at 3? So,
Yeah, good question. So the increase is going to be about 22 cents a month. So the resident would pay that, 10 to 12 cents, and then the city would pay the remainder. So the average homeowner would see about a dime, 12 cents on their bill. And then we would encumber $75,000 through our solid waste budget. And again, we offered that up as an option, just considering the COVID-19 environment that we're in.
would that be the preferred option that y'all think, the 1.5, or, I mean, what's
Yeah.
y'all's recommendation?
Yes, sir. Of the 3 options, I think option 3 would be our top recommendation, which, I think that we're going to recommend the 3% residential increase. And then I would recommend that we split it with our citizens, but certainly if we need to take the full amount on at the 125,000, we're prepared to do that if needed. Just, obviously if we're going to take that out of our budget, the city's revenues are way down, as you all know. We've taken a huge budget hit as well as our citizens. So we can certainly do that. That was just the thinking of splitting it, because we're trying to still fund the same levels of service throughout the city without cutting those to across the board to our citizens. But Patricia does a great job with her budget. Luckily, it's very healthy. So again, I think you've got 2 great options. I would say either, let's split it with our citizens or take on the full amount. I would probably my last least favorable recommendation would be to pass on the entire amount to our homeowners.
I think Becky has a question.
I just wanted to clarify, Steve, the way we're using the percentage. If Republic, the increase from Republic is 3%, that is not automatically turned around and makes a 3% rate increase to the customer, because Republic is only a piece of our bill. So even if you pass the whole amount through, their increase to their bill would be a little less than 1.5% on the customer's bill.
Okay. Becky, thank you. So that 22 cents, Becky, if we split it with the customer, do you know about what they would see of that 22 cents on their bill?
Well, it depends on how you split it, but if you passed on the whole 22 cents like Patricia shows in that chart, that's only a 1.35% increase to the customer.
When we're
on a
saying-
percentage basis.
Right, when we're saying 22 cents, we mean 22 cents. If we say 1.5, we will absorb 11 cents. They will pay 11 cents. But what she's talking about is that for city services, extended services, it's $8.90 of their $16.35 bill. And then $7.45, the remainder of it, is what we pay to Republic. So
Yeah, gotcha.
yeah,
The
percent,
11
3% on top of 745.
But the 11 cents and the 11 cents, that the homeowner is going to see an 11-cent increase on the
That's
residential.
correct.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I'm in favor of the homeowner seeing a 22 cent per month increase with lack of city revenues, I think we need to try to keep our we're talking about solid waste fund right here, but we need to keep every fund as solid as we can. I can look my neighbor in the eye and tell them that yes, they've got a 22-cent per month increase coming up to have their trash picked up in front of their house twice a week. I don't think that anybody celebrates us for only having an 11-cent increase, and we're losing money out of funds that we don't know what our future holds for us. So I'm in support of the 3%, but I'm going to be in support of passing the entire 3% on and spreading it out over a couple 100,000 people instead of just our solid waste fund.
Thank you. And to your point, Mr. Chairman, we do afford a very high level of solid waste services, as you know, to our citizens. We rarely get complaints because we offer them between solid waste, recycling, and brush pickup and small debris. They do really get a Cadillac version.
It's truly one thing that I've never had any of our citizens. Go ahead, Ms. Becky. I've never had anybody gripe about our trash.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Ms. Becky.
No, I just wanted to say later in the month to F&G, we'll also be talking about water and sewer rate increases, and that's not yet got a staff recommendation, but that all comes in the same bill. So it might be something you just want to keep in mind.
Thank you. Well,
Cole, you and John, do y'all have an alternative? Because we might have to take a couple of votes here. There's three, but I'm of the opinion to go with the 3, to reject the commercial rate increase, pass the 3% on residential, and to pass that entire cost on to the citizens.
Jeff, I'm in agreement with you.
Okay. John, where you at, buddy?
No, I mean, after kind of like Becky explained it, I mean, it says the whole 3%, but after you do the whole math and break it down, it's under 2% that's really getting passed to the resident. The way you do the math and the way you really look at the whole bill as a whole. So yeah, I know it's 3% on paper and that's what they might see, but when you break it all down on their bill, it's really more of a 1.5% at this point. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, will either one of y'all put forth that motion, the entire motion to reject? Or can I make a motion as the chairman, Mark? You're on mute, Mark.
There we go. Okay. Generally, the chairman doesn't make the motion. Somebody else will make the motion.
And the only reason I was asking is we're talking about a little bit of an increase to our citizenship, and I didn't want to put either one of my fellow council members on the spot, and I was willing to take that hit. So if either one of you want to put forth the motion.
Jeff, I'd make a motion as you presented it for approval.
To reject the commercial increase, to accept a 3% price increase on residential, and to pass the entire increase off to the customer. Is that good?
Yes. Yes.
John?
Yeah.
Get a second? Cool.
Take it.
All in favor, say aye.
Well, you should ask if there's any discussion.
Yeah. Well, that's tough, man. They need to be here in my living room if they want to talk to me about it. Baron, do we have any speakers?
No, sir.
Any further discussions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Or raise your hand. Whatever.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I just want to acknowledge the fact that you all are conscientious and appreciative of all that staff is doing to cut our budget. We're starting to run pretty thin on the margins.
Yep.
So I do appreciate that. And as a homeowner in our city, I certainly agree with the direction you've given us. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate that. I think 22 cents is something we can all pitch in and try to help to absorb, not knowing what times we have in front of us. The next item is number 4. Tiffany, are you raising your hand? All right. The next item is number 4 and 5, TxDot Municipal Maintenance Agreement.
Yes, so Mr. Chairman, Steve Collins is going to be able to present these at the same time. They had to be split into 2 different items because one is Dallas County and one is Tarrant County, so it may require a separate vote, but he can explain both of them to you at the same time.
Right, correct. Mr. Chairman, as you know, this is part of the Clean Prairie Initiative as we continue to improve the aesthetics of the city. This project, a 10-month project dealing with TxDot. Here we are back with these two municipal maintenance agreements where we can take control of mowing our right-of-ways and make them look more presentable for our citizens than what they do. Next slide. As you know, what the problem we were having is they only mow 3 times a year, and they don't start mowing until May of every year. And then they mow again in August. And then the last time that they mow would be in November. As we know, mowing in May, we're already looking at 6-foot-high grass and weeds throughout our highways that come through the city. And we get a lot of complaints from code as to why doesn't the city mow these right-of-ways? And we having to go and fight with TxDot to get this done. So this 10-month project of trying to get them back with the municipal maintenance agreements has been a tug of war, but we have them, and we're glad to have them because now we can control what our city looks like when citizens and travelers go through our city. Next slide. And it's just, I'm showing basically some photos here of what it looks like during this time. It looks worse than this at times, but I just want to add some photos. Next slide. And next slide. And the solution is with these municipal maintenance agreements, we can go and bid for ourselves a contractor to mow when we want them to mow. Instead of waiting until May, we can start in March, which is when here in code, we start mowing city properties in March to keep things from getting out of control during the season. Weed season starts in March. So by mowing early, we can control what the right-of-ways look like. Now, this agreement would be for 5 years, and it'll be for 3 mows per year is a cycle. Next slide. And this map just basically shows the highways in which we'll be responsible for. Highway 360, Interstate Highway 30, Interstate Highway 20 in the Dallas and Fort Worth district. Next slide. Here's what this looked like compared to other cities. The city of Dallas currently gets $45 per acre. Irving, $45. I think we came out a little bit better with $46.65 from Fort Worth, $55 from the Dallas area. And Mesquite right now, their agreements are still pending. Next slide. So in looking at the cost of the acres that we'll be mowing in Dallas, these are the numbers per cycle at $55 per acre in Dallas. We're looking at per cycle, $14,000 and some change. In Tarrant County, with the number of acres you see here, we're looking at about $4,500 a cycle. And then with 3 reimbursements, the cost comes to about $42,907.43. Dallas for Tarrant, $13,078. For a total 3 reimbursements each year, 55, right at about $5,600 per year. Now, I am recommending we do 2 extra mowings by the city. Reason why I say that is because that gets us through weed season, every 2 months, we can be mowing instead of waiting every 4 months or every 3 months. But at 2 extra mows, we'll make the right-of-ways look pretty decent throughout the whole weed season. Any questions?
So-
Steve, is that the
ahead.
end of your presentation?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, just to give, particularly for our other 2 council members, some historical context, this was one of the first priorities of the Clean Prairie program. Steve hit the nail on the head. We would have to fight TxDot to get them out there to mow, and then when they got out there to mow, it was 2 weeks, 3 weeks after we called them. It was unacceptable, and we weren't getting enough mowings. This is going to be cost neutral, maybe a little bit of an extra cost. I think Patricia may be going into the litter component here in a minute, but between the mowing and the litter, this is just the beautification in the image of our city, quite frankly. And what do most people see most often of our city when they're driving down an interstate? So I applaud Steve and Patricia's and Walter Schumach's tenacity, because it took about 2 years longer than we wanted it to take, but we are finally here. And Patricia, were you going to present on the litter piece?
No, I don't believe we had that on the agenda. The only thing that I will say about the litter piece is it makes it so much simpler to coordinate having both the mowing and the litter. Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Okay, good. Okay. When we have both of those pieces, that allows us to coordinate, because otherwise we're just stuck with, our contractor right now is trying to pick up in high grass. TxDot comes through and just mows everything and scatters it all over the place. So this way we really get to control both of those sides.
Well, thank y'all for sticking to this, because we've been talking about it for quite some time, and I'm sorry that you had to go through all that, but I think it's some of the best money we could spend. And Steve, I can't imagine your poor code enforcement officers out there writing somebody a ticket for their grass being too tall, and they say, why don't you go mow your yard? You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. And I have received a dozen calls at Interstate 20 and Great Southwest on the U-turn type lanes that the grass is so tall, people can't even see oncoming traffic. So I also think it's a safety issue as well. So what action, the council members, do y'all have any questions or concerns?
No,
sir.
I think it's a good program, and especially at 360. I mean, there's a couple of lots that we could probably notice that they're overgrown. I mean, if we do the right of way, I mean, we could notice, okay, those lots need to be mowed as well to make sure everything looks in compliance, especially around 360 Raglan, over there in that area. I know that we get calls all the time by high grass.
Yeah. Well, let me climb up on the soapbox and ask. I want to make sure that we don't contract this. Are we going to contract it out, or is the city of Grand Prairie actually going to mow?
Well, we're going to contract it out, but here's the beauty. Couple of things. First of all, to Patricia's point, we're not going to go mow up litter. We're going to do the litter collection before we mow. We're not just mow grass. You're going to get at least 3 mowings a season, probably 5, and 12 litter collections. But here's the real beauty. Now, when old Steve Dye or Jeff Copeland or John Lopez or Cole Humphrey sees a problem, you call Steve Collins or Patricia Redfern and it's done. Before, I had to call them. They had to call John Polster to call TxDot, and it was too much bureaucracy. We directly control the contractors now. So when you call us, it's probably done in a week, and hopefully you won't even have to call us anymore. But it removes red tape.
Yeah.
It gets a better product, and it gets the job done without having to go through 5 people outside of our control.
So Steve, was it? My comment was going to be, I don't want us to contract with anybody that's contracted with TxDot because they were part of the problem. Or was it just the pure bureaucracy of TxDot? I would love to go find somebody new to do this that is going to be responsive to us. But then I would also like to make that agreement maybe annually, as short as a term as we possibly can get if somebody's new to the mowing business. What are y'all's thoughts on that?
Yeah, great questions. Patricia, Steve, I'm going to throw that to you all and let you answer those questions.
Yeah, the bureaucracy was within TxDot. It wasn't the mowing. The mowing people, they control the mowers, but it was just, they waited. It's like holding on to a penny. They didn't want to spin it. So they waited until they absolutely had to, and that was in May. And then they will mow again to get through the whole summer before they mow again before school starts, which, you know, that was a problem. Then they waited. The last time would be November, because that's when grass would go dormant, and then they had to mow again. So they waited until they absolutely had to. It was the bureaucracy of TxDot and all of that.
Well, let's make sure none of those are on our prospective contractor list, right?
Yeah.
Well, most likely they will be when we send it out for bid. The specifications have already been completed, so it should be out for bid here shortly.
Well, Patricia and Steve, let's go on an annual contract, okay? Because we want to review their work. So to the chairman's point, I want to start with a 1-year contract. We can build in options to renew. I'm fine with that, but I want an evaluation after that first year. And I'll just tell you, if there's TxDot contractors on there, we just need to be assured that the problem was never with them as the contractor. That's that's just, I hear loud and clear what Chairman Copeland is saying, and he's right. So Patricia, if you guys would just build those in and make sure and see, Mr. Chairman, here's the deal. If TxDot didn't fulfill all of our contractual obligations, they saved money. See, they weren't doing the work because they were able to save that in their line items.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll make sure those two boxes are checked for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, because that'd be important, especially if they're still part of the contract for TxDot. I mean, I don't want them to say, well, you know, I don't want to lose that contract, so I'd be out there in 3 weeks from your call, because I don't want to lose that other contract as well. So, I mean, in a year, we should be able to tell whether or not they really work with us.
Yeah.
We're already working with the litter contractor, and what we're seeing is we're able to call and have an area collected the same day that we're seeing a hot spot. So it's working extremely well.
Good. Any TxDot contractor, Patricia or Steve, that ever told y'all, hey, I don't work for you, now you can call them back and say, yeah, you're right, you don't work for me.
Exactly.
Are there any other further discussions? Baron, do we have anybody wishing to speak?
No, sir.
Then I will go ahead.
And Mr. Chairman, if you want to just let us have get an official action, or let us know that you support the resolutions on the mowing and the litter contracts for both Dallas and Tarrant counties.
Yes, Megan's script, she wants us to actually take a vote. So if one of my fellow council members would make a motion for both items 4 and 5, and the only difference in 4 and 5 is one's in Dallas County, one's in Tarrant County. So I'll take a motion.
Go ahead, John.
You're muted, John.
All right. Do we have to take these motions separately, or do we do it together?
Wait. Megan says we can do 4 and 5 together since it's just the counties.
Great. I'll go ahead and make a motion that we close the public hearing and that we adopt the resolution as presented. Resolution number 4 and resolution number, is it 3 and 4 or 4 and 5?
4 and 5.
4 and 5, as presented by staff, with the intention that the contractors be given a 1-year contract with follow-up after the 1 year to make sure that they're in compliance and make sure that we're satisfied with their project as well.
Second.
That's a beautiful motion. All in favor, raise your hand. All right, motion carries 3-0. Do we have any other citizens' comments?
No, sir.
Then I think we're done with our book of business here. Am I correct, Mr. Dye?
Yes, sir. Thank you guys as always for your support.
Absolutely. Thank y'all for all the hard work, and Steve, thank you for bringing a little more meat to this committee. I appreciate that. That was a commitment you made to me when you came over from PD, and I appreciate it. And I think that this committee now is doing some things to help our citizenship more than ever in the past. We appreciate everybody's hard work. So
I
with
agree.
that,
Thank you.
I'm going to call the meeting adjourned. Everybody have a great week.
You
See
too.
y'all later. Thank y'all.